The snow stung my knees like 1,000 needles. Each flake a reminder of the cold that wasn't just outside, but inside our home. I was 16, shivering in our backyard in Concord, New Hampshire. As my mother's voice sliced through the winter air, "You will kneel until you beg God to fix you." I didn't beg, not then. Not ever, but the memory of that night froze something deep inside me. A wound that would take years to thaw. My name is Eli Carter. And that was the night I learned what it meant to be unwanted. Growing up in a small, church-going town, I knew early on I was different. I'd catch myself staring too long at Jake, the boy who sat 2 pews ahead in Sunday service, his laugh brighter than the stained glass behind him. But in our house, love was a narrow path, and I'd strayed too far. Mom caught me sketching Jake's face in my journal, and by sundown, I was on my knees in the snow, her Bible thumping against her palm like a judge's gavel. Dad just watched from the porch, silent, his breath clouding in the cold. The next morning, I packed a bag and left. I didn't say goodbye. I couldn't. I hitchhiked to Boston, where the city's pulse drowned out the echoes of her voice. I was a kid, barely scraping by, but the streets felt warmer than home. I found work at a diner, lied about my age, and slept in a shelter when I could. Boston was gritty, alive, and indifferent. It didn't care who I loved. That's where I met Sam, the girl who'd change everything. Sam was a whirlwind, a barista with a crooked smile and a laugh that could melt ice. She worked at a coffee shop near the diner, and one rainy afternoon, she slipped me a free latte with a doodle of a heart on the cup. "You look like you need this," she said, her hazel eyes sparkling with mischief. We talked for hours that day, about music, dreams, and the families we'd both left behind. She was a lesbian, out and proud, raised by a mom who'd marched for gay rights in the 80s. Sam didn't just accept mesh, saw me, every jagged piece, and somehow thought I was worth keeping. We became inseparable, sharing a tiny apartment above a laundromat, our lives tangled in late-night talks and stolen kisses. But the past wasn't done with me. Every winter, when snow blanketed the city, I'd dream of that night in Concord, my knees aching, my mother's words carving scars no one could see. Sam noticed the way I'd tense up, the way I'd dodge questions about my family. "You can't run forever, Eli," she'd say, her hand squeezing mine. "You'll have to face her someday." 5 years later, I got the call. Dad had passed a heart attack, sudden and quiet, like he'd always been. I hadn't spoken to him since I left, but the news hit like a brick. Sam drove us to Concord for the funeral, her hand steady on the wheel as I stared out at the snow-dusted pines. I didn't want to see Mom, but something in me made guilt. Maybe hope pulled me back to the house where I'd once knelt in shame. The funeral was small, held in the same church where I'd first noticed Jake. Mom stood at the front, her face a mask of grief. But when she saw me, her eyes hardened. "You shouldn't be here," she whispered as I passed, her voice low enough to keep the neighbors from hearing. Sam overheard and stepped between us, her jaw tight. "He's here for his dad, not you," she snapped. Mom's lips pressed into a thin line, but she said nothing more. I felt the old cold creeping back, but Sam's hand in mine kept it at bay. That night, we stayed at a motel, the neon sign buzzing outside our window. Sam sat cross-legged on the bed, her voice soft but firm. "Eli, you don't owe her anything. But you owe yourself closure. You're not that kid in the snow anymore. I wanted to believe her, but the weight of Mom's judgment still pressed against my chest. I didn't know then that closure wasn't something you find, it's something you build. The next day, I went back to the house alone. Mom was in the kitchen, surrounded by casseroles from well-meaning neighbors. She looked older, smaller, like the years had chipped away at her certainty. "Why did you come back?" she asked, not looking up from the dishes. I took a breath, the words I'd rehearsed for years spilling out. "Because I'm not broken, Mom. I never was. And I'm done letting you make me feel like I am." She froze, her hands trembling in the soapy water. For the first time, I saw something flicker in her eyes: regret. Maybe. Or fear. But she didn't speak. And I didn't wait for her to. I walked out, the snow crunching under my boots, feeling lighter than I had in years. I didn't know it then, but that was only the beginning of our story, a story that would take us both to places we never expected, where love and pain would collide in ways I couldn't yet imagine. Back in Boston, life with Sam felt like a warm hearth after a long winter. Our apartment was small, but it was ours, filled with mismatched furniture, vinyl records, and the smell of her morning coffee. She'd tease me about my terrible cooking, and I'd retaliate by hiding her favorite mug. But beneath the laughter, I carried the weight of concord. Mom's silence at the house haunted me, her unspoken regret a ghost I couldn't shake. Work at the diner kept me grounded. I'd graduated from dishwasher to server, charming customers with a smile I'd learned to fake. Sam, meanwhile, was climbing the ranks at the coffee shop, dreaming of opening her own one day. She'd sketch logos on napkins, her eyes bright with possibility. "We'll call it Brewed with Love," she'd say, nudging me. "You can be my taste tester." I'd laugh, but her dreams felt bigger than mine, like she was building a future I wasn't sure I deserved. One evening, while we were sprawled on the couch watching a cheesy rom-com, my phone buzzed with a number I didn't recognize. I answered, half expecting a telemarketer, but it was Mom. Her voice was thin, almost fragile. "Eli, I found something of your father's. You should come get it." I froze, the phone heavy in my hand. Sam raised an eyebrow, sensing the shift. "What does she want?" she whispered. I shook my head, unsure myself. Against Sam's protests, I drove back to Concord the next weekend. The house looked the same, but emptier without Dad's quiet presence. Mom handed me a shoebox, her fingers brushing mine for a moment before she pulled away. Inside were letters, dozens of them, addressed to me in Dad's careful handwriting. I opened one, my heart thudding. "Eli, I'm sorry I didn't stand up for you." It read, "I love you. Always." The words blurred as tears welled up. He'd written them over years, never sent, hidden away like a secret he couldn't share. "Why didn't you give these to me sooner?" I asked, my voice shaking. Mom looked away, her hands twisting a dish towel. "I didn't know how," she said. "After you left, he wrote them. Said it was his way of talking to you." I wanted to scream, to demand why she'd let me think he didn't care. But the pain in her eyes stopped me. For the first time, I saw her not as the woman who'd forced me to kneel, but as someone trapped by her own fears. I took the letters and left, the shoebox heavy in my arms. Back in Boston, Sam read them with me, her hand on my back as I sobbed. "He loved you, Eli," she said. "He just didn't know how to show it." The letters were a lifeline. A piece of Dad I thought I'd lost. But they also stirred something else you need to understand, Mom. To unravel the knot of anger and hurt between us. Weeks later, Sam convinced me to join a local LGBTQ support group. I was skeptical, but the stories I heard there of rejection, resilience, and reconciliation echoed my own. One night, a guy named Marcus shared how he'd rebuilt a relationship with his estranged sister. "It's not about forgiving them," he said. "It's about forgiving yourself for carrying their weight." His words stuck with me, a seed planted in the cracks of my resolve. I started writing to Mom, not letters, but emails, short and cautious. I told her about my life, about Sam, about the diner. She didn't always reply, but when she did, her words were tentative, like she was testing the ice before stepping onto it. "I'm glad you're happy," she wrote once, and I stared at the screen, unsure if I believed her. Sam, ever the optimist, saw it as progress. "She's trying, Eli. That's something." But trying wasn't enough when the past still loomed so large. One night, I found an old photo of me and Mom from when I was a kid, laughing at a county fair. I barely recognized the woman who'd smiled so freely. I showed it to Sam, my voice thick. "What happened to her?" Sam pulled me close. "Life. Maybe. Fear. But people can change. Eli. You did." Her words lingered as winter settled over Boston again. Snow fell outside our window, and I felt the old ache in my knees. But this time, I didn't push it away. I decided to invite Mom to the city, to see the life I'd built without her. It was a risk, one I wasn't sure I was ready for. But Sam was right, I wasn't running anymore. I sent the email, my heart pounding, and waited for her reply, unaware that her visit would crack open everything I thought I knew about her, about us, and about what it means to heal. Mom's email came a week later. A single line, "I'll come next Saturday." My stomach churned as I read it. A mix of dread and something softer, like hope I didn't trust. Sam, predictably, was thrilled, already planning where we'd take her in Boston. "We'll keep it low-key," she said, squeezing my hand. "Just show her who you are now." But who I was felt like a puzzle with missing pieces, and I wasn't sure Mom would like the picture. Saturday arrived, crisp and gray, the city humming with its usual chaos. Mom stood outside our apartment, her coat too thin for the February chill, clutching a small bag like a lifeline. She looked out of place, her small-town stiffness clashing with the urban sprawl. "Eli," she said, her voice tight, her eyes scanning me like she was looking for the boy she'd lost. I nodded, letting her in, Sam's warm smile easing the tension. The apartment felt smaller with Mom in it. She sat on our thrift store couch, her hands folded tightly in her lap, staring at the photos on our wall and Sam at Pride, laughing on a rooftop, kissing under Christmas lights. "You've built a life here," she said, almost to herself. I waited for the judgment, but it didn't come. Instead, she asked about Sam's coffee shop dreams, her voice halting but curious. Sam answered with her usual charm, and for a moment, it felt almost normal. Dinner was takeout from a Thai place down the street. Sam kept the conversation light, But I could feel Mom's eyes on me, searching. Finally, she spoke. I didn't know about the letters, she said, her voice low. Not until after he was gone. I should have given them to you sooner. I clenched my fork, the old anger flaring. Why didn't you? I asked. She looked down, her fingers twisting her napkin. I was ashamed of what I did, of what I made you do. Her words hit like a gust of winter wind, sharp and disorienting. Sam reached for my hand under the table, grounding me. I wanted to push, to demand more. But Mom's eyes were wet, and I saw something I hadn't before: grief. Not just for Dad, but for the years we'd lost. I didn't know what to say, so I didn't say anything. We ate in silence, the weight of her confession settling between us. The next day, we took her to the common, where snow dusted the paths and kids built lopsided snowmen. Mom walked slowly, her breath visible in the cold. I used to bring you here, she said suddenly, pointing to a frozen pond. You'd beg to skate, but I was too scared you'd fall through. I remembered those days. Her hand tight around mine, her love fierce but conditional. I'm not that kid anymore, I said quietly. She nodded, her face unreadable. I know. Sam suggested a coffee shop, her workplace, where she'd first doodled that heart on my cup. Mom hesitated at the rainbow flag in the window, but followed us inside. The barista, a trans kid named Riley, greeted Sam with a hug. Mom stiffened, but when Riley took her order, she managed a small smile. I watched her, trying to reconcile this woman with the one who'd made me kneel. Was she changing? Or was I just seeing what I wanted to? That night, Mom stayed in our spare room. Really just a closet with a cot. I heard her moving around late, restless. In the morning, she was quieter, her eyes red-rimmed. I went to church every Sunday after you left, she said over breakfast. I prayed you'd come back, but I didn't know how to ask. Her voice cracked, and I felt something shift, a crack in the ice that had held us apart. I'm here now, I said, the words heavy with meaning I wasn't sure I meant. Before she left, Mom handed me a photo, a same one from the county fair. On the back, in her neat script, she'd written, I'm trying. Eli. I stared at it, my throat tight. Sam hugged me after Mom's car pulled away, her warmth chasing away the chill. She's not there yet, Sam said, but she's moving. That's something. I nodded, but the photo burned in my hand, a fragile bridge between us. Back at the support group, I shared the visit, my voice unsteady. Marcus clapped me on the shoulder. You're giving her a chance to change. That's brave. I didn't feel brave, just tired. But Sam's belief in me, in us, kept me going. I started planning something by God gesture to show Mom who I was, who I'd become. It was risky, but I was done hiding. Little did I know, that gesture would push us both to the edge, forcing us to confront truths we'd buried under years of snow. Spring came to Boston, but the thaw in my heart was slower. Mom's visit had left me restless, her words and that photo stirring up questions I wasn't ready to answer. Sam noticed my mood, her gentle nudges pushing me to act. You can't keep waiting for her to fix this, she said one night, her fingers tracing circles on my palm. Show her your world, Eli. All of it. Her words sparked an idea bold. Terrifying one. I decided to invite Mom to Pride. Boston's Pride Parade was a riot of color. A celebration of everything she'd once condemned. If she could see it, see me in it, maybe she'd understand. I emailed her. Keeping it simple, come to Boston in June. I want you to meet my family. I didn't mention Pride. Not yet. Sam thought it was a gamble. But she backed me. Her faith in me stronger than my own. Work kept me busy as the date approached. The diner was buzzing with summer tourists. And Sam was pulling extra shifts to save for her coffee shop dream. We'd lie awake at night, planning our Futuria cozy shop with fairy lights, where we'd host open mic nights and serve lattes with heart-shaped foam. But the closer Pride got, the more I doubted. What if Mom showed up and saw only sin? What if I lost her for good? She arrived on a humid June morning. Her suitcase small but heavy, like she was carrying more than clothes. You look good, Eli, she said, her voice softer than before. I introduced her to our friends Riley from the coffee shop, Marcus from the support group, and others who'd become my chosen family. Mom was polite but quiet, her eyes darting to the rainbow pins on their bags. I could feel her discomfort, but she stayed. The day of Pride, I woke with a knot in my stomach. Sam was already up, painting her face with glitter. We're doing this, she said, kissing my forehead. You're doing this. Mom joined us downtown, her expression unreadable as we merged into the sea of flags and floats. The air buzzed with music, laughter, and the weight of history. I watched her take it in the drag queens, the couples holding hands, the parents cheering for their kids. She didn't speak, but she didn't leave either. Halfway through the parade, I took a chance. I grabbed a rainbow flag from a vendor and draped it over my shoulders. This is me, Mom, I said, my voice steady despite the pounding in my chest. Her eyes widened, but she didn't look away. A group of teens ran by, chanting, "Love is love." And I saw her flinch, then soften. It's a lot, she said finally, her voice barely audible over the crowd. I nodded, not pushing, but feeling the weight of the moment. That night, we sat on our rooftop, the city sparkling below. Mom held a soda, her fingers tapping nervously. I didn't understand, she said, her words slow. Back then, I thought I was saving you. I was wrong. My breath caught, the air thick with her confession. Sam squeezed my hand, giving me space to respond. I needed you to love me, I said, my voice raw. Not fix me. She nodded, tears spilling down her cheeks. And for the first time, I saw her as human, flawed and trying. The rest of her visit was quieter. We showed her our favorite spots, the bookstore where Sam and I had our first date, the park where we'd picnic on sunny days. She listened, asked questions, and even laughed when Sam told a story about spilling coffee on a rude customer. But I could still feel the distance, the years of hurt that no single visit could erase. When Mom left, she hugged me a real hug, not the stiff embrace of our past. I'm proud of you, Eli, she whispered, and I felt the ground shift beneath me. Back at the apartment, Sam pulled me into her arms. You did it, she said, her voice thick with pride. But I wasn't sure what it was: forgiveness, acceptance, or something else entirely. All I knew was that the ice was melting, and I was ready to see what lay beneath. As summer faded, I started planning something bigger, a way to honor my past and my future. I didn't know then that Mom was planning something too. Something that would bring us face to face with the deepest wounds we'd inflicted on each other, and the chance to heal them in a way I never thought possible. The summer heat faded into a crisp Boston fall, leaves crunching underfoot as Sam and I walked hand in hand. Pride had changed something in May, a quiet strength, a belief that I could bridge the gap with Mom. Her hug, her words, lingered like a promise. But I knew promises could break. I wanted to build something lasting, something to show her I was whole. That's when I decided to organize a community event at Sam's coffee shop, a night of stories and music to celebrate queer resilience. I invited Mom, hoping she'd see the family I'd found. Sam was all in, her energy infectious as we planned. "We'll call it Hearts Unbound," she said, sketching a poster with rainbow accents. We booked local musicians, lined up speakers from the support group, and even convinced Riley to perform a poem. I sent Mom the details in a letter, handwritten to feel personal. "It's a night about love and survival," I wrote. "I'd like you to be there." Her reply was short, "I'll try, Eli." It wasn't a yes, but it was enough. The weeks leading up to the event were a blur. I juggled diner shifts with decorating the coffee shop, stringing fairy lights, and setting up a small stage. Sam handled the logistics, her calm balancing my nerves. "This is your story, too," she said one night, kissing my cheek. "You're showing her what you've built. But doubt not at Muhat if Mom didn't show. What if she did? And it wasn't enough?" The night of Hearts Unbound. The coffee shop glowed with warmth. Friends and strangers filled the space, their laughter mixing with the strum of a guitar. Marcus shared a story about finding his sister again. Riley's poem brought tears, and Sam's speech about love as resistance had everyone cheering. I scanned the crowd for Mom, my heart sinking as the night wore on. She wasn't coming. I stepped outside for air, the autumn chill biting my skin, when I saw her standing across the street, clutching her coat, her face uncertain. "Mom," I called, crossing to her. She looked small, out of place in the city's glow. "I didn't know if I should come in," she said, her voice trembling. "It's different." I took her hand, gently, and led her inside. The crowd parted as we entered, and Sam met us with a smile. "Glad you made it," she said, handing Mom a coffee. Mom sat in the back, her eyes wide, taking in the stories, the music, the love. When it was my turn to speak, I froze. I hadn't planned to share, but Sam's nod gave me courage. "I grew up thinking I was wrong," I started, my voice shaky. "My mom made me kneel in the snow once, to pray away who I am. But I'm here, and I'm not broken." The room was silent, every eye on me. I glanced at Mom, her face pale, tears streaming. "I'm still learning what family means," I continued, "but I know it starts with love." The crowd clapped, and Sam pulled me into a hug, whispering, "You're incredible." After, Mom approached me, her hand shaking. "I didn't know," she said, her voice breaking. "I didn't know how much I hurt you." I wanted to be angry, but all I felt was ache for her, for me, for the years we'd lost. "You can know now," I said. She nodded, and for the first time, I saw her try to understand. The event was a success. The coffee shop buzzing with plans for another. Mom stayed late, helping clean up, her small gestures speaking louder than words. When she left, she hugged me again. Longer this time. "I'll be back," she said, and I believed her. But the past wasn't done with us. A week later, I got a call from a neighbor in Concord. Mom was in the hospital, a minor stroke, they said, but enough to scare me. Sam and I drove up that night, the road blurring with memories of snow and shame. At the hospital, Mom looked frail, her eyes tired but clear. "I've been thinking about that night," she said, her voice weak. "I was so wrong. Eli, I want to make it right." I held her hand, the weight of her words sinking in. Healing wasn't a moment, it was a journey. And we were both still walking. As I sat by her bed, I knew the next step would test us both, pushing us toward a reckoning neither of us could avoid. The hospital room smelled of antiseptic and regret. The beeping monitors a steady reminder of Mom's fragility. She was stable, the doctors said, but the stroke had left her weak. Her words slower. Sam and I took turns staying by her side, the drive between Boston and Concord becoming a familiar blur. I didn't know what I was feeling: anger, guilt, love, all tangled together like roots under frozen ground. Sam kept me steady, her hand on my shoulder as I wrestled with the past. Mom's recovery was slow, each day a small battle. She'd grip my hand, her eyes searching mine. "I keep seeing you in that snow," she said one afternoon, her voice barely above a whisper. "I can't undo it, Eli, but I want to try." Her words cracked something in me, a dam I'd built to hold back the pain. I didn't forgive her, not yet, but I listened. And that was a start. Back in Boston, life didn't pause. The diner was busier than ever, and Sam was meeting with investors for her coffee shop dream. Hearts Unbound had put her on the map, and she was glowing with purpose. But I was distracted, my mind split between Mom's hospital bed and the life we were building. Sam noticed. "Of course. You're carrying too much," she said one night, her arms around me. "Let me help." I nodded, but the weight felt like mine alone. Mom was released after 2 weeks, frail but determined to go home. I offered to stay in Concord, but she waved me off. "You have a life, Eli. Don't stop it for me." Her words stung, but they also freed me. I drove back to Boston, the shoebox of Dad's letters on the seat beside me. I hadn't read them all, but each one was a piece of him, a reminder that love could exist even in silence. Sam had a surprise waiting, a small ring, simple and silver, tucked into a coffee mug. "It's not a proposal," she said, grinning. "Not yet. Just a promise to keep building this with you." I slipped it on, my heart full, and kissed her under the fairy lights we'd never taken down. But the joy was bittersweet. Mom's stroke had shifted something, and I knew I couldn't keep her at arm's length forever. I started visiting Concord more, helping Mom with small things: groceries, doctor's appointments. She was different now, quieter, her sharp edges softened by time and fear. One day, she pulled out an old album, photos of me as a kid, before everything broke. "You were always so bright," she said, her fingers tracing a picture of me smiling. I dimmed that. "I'm sorry." I swallowed hard, the apology landing like snowsoft. but heavy. Sam came with me sometimes, her presence easing the tension. Mom started asking her questions about her family, her dreams. One afternoon, as they laughed over a story about Sam's mom at a protest, I realized Mom was trying to know us. Not just me. It wasn't perfect, but it was progress. I started sharing more, telling her about Hearts Unbound, about the ring. She listened, her eyes soft, and I saw glimpses of the woman from the county fair. Winter crept back, the air sharp with memory. I decided to host another event, this time in Concord, a smaller version of Hearts Unbound, at the community center. I wanted Mom to see it, to be part of it. She agreed to come, her first public step into my world. The night was raw, with local kids sharing stories of struggle and hope. I spoke again, this time about Dad's letters, about finding love despite pain. Mom sat in the front row, her hands clasped, tears falling. After, she pulled me aside. "I want to speak at the next one," she said, her voice steady. "I want to tell them what I did, and how I'm learning." I stared at her, stunned. It was a risk for her. From a but I nodded. As we drove back to Boston, Sam squeezed my hand. "She's becoming someone new," she said. I hoped she was right, but the past still whispered, warning me not to trust too much. The next event would be our biggest test, a moment that could either mend us or break us for good. Concord's community center was packed, the air electric with anticipation. The second Hearts Unbound event was bigger than I'd imagined, with locals and Boston friends filling the seats. Sam had outdone herself, turning the drab hall into a warm space with candles and banners. I was nervous, not just for my speech, but for Mom's. She'd insisted on speaking, her determination both inspiring and terrifying. I wanted to believe in her, but the memory of snow on my knees kept me cautious. The night started strong. Riley's poetry, Marcus's stories, a local band playing soft acoustic. I watched Mom from the side, her hands twisting in her lap, her face a mix of resolve and fear. Sam caught my eye, mouthing, "It'll be okay." I wanted to believe her, but my heart raced as Mom's turn approached. She'd asked me not to read her speech, saying it was something she needed to do alone. When she stepped to the mic, the room hushed. She looked small but steady, her voice trembling at first. "My name is Helen Carter," she began, "and I'm here because I failed my son." My breath caught, the words hitting like a punch. She told the story of that night, the snow, the Bible, her fear disguised as righteousness. "I thought I was saving him," she said, tears streaming. "But I was breaking him. And I'm so sorry." The crowd was silent. Then a few clapped, the sound growing into a wave. I felt Sam's hand on mine, her eyes wet. Mom looked at me, her face raw, and I saw her not as the woman who'd hurt me, but as someone fighting to make amends. I walked to the stage, hugging her tightly, the room fading around us. "I'm proud of you," I whispered, and she sobbed against my shoulder. After the event, people approached Mom, sharing their own stories of family and forgiveness. She listened, her eyes wide, her heart open in a way I'd never seen. Sam and I drove her home, the silence between us warm, not heavy. "I meant every word," she said as we pulled into her driveway. "I want to keep learning." I nodded, my throat too tight to speak. Back in Boston, life felt lighter. Sam's coffee shop was taking Shepesht found a space. A tiny storefront with big windows. I was her biggest cheerleader, helping paint walls and test recipes. But Mom's speech stayed with me. A turning point I hadn't expected. I started calling her weekly. Our conversations deeper, more honest. She asked about Sam, about our friends, even about pride. I sent her photos, small pieces of my life, and she kept them, taping them to her fridge. One day, she called with news. I'm joining a group, she said. Parents of queer kids. I want to understand better. I was stunned, pride swelling in my chest. She was trying, not just for me, but for others like me. I told Sam, and she grinned, pulling me into a dance in our kitchen. We're building something. Eli, she said. All of us. But healing isn't linear. As winter loomed, Mom's health faltered again on a stroke. But exhaustion, the weight of years catching up. I went to Concord alone, Sam staying back for a meeting with her investors. Mom was in bed, weaker than I'd seen her. I'm scared, Eli, she admitted, her hand cold in mine. Not of dying, but of not doing enough for you. I squeezed her hand, my heart aching. You're doing it now? I said. That's enough. I stayed the night, sleeping in my old room, the walls still holding echoes of that winter. In the morning, Mom was stronger, her smile faint but real. I knew then that our story wasn't over, that the final chapter would demand everything: courage, love, and a goodbye I wasn't ready for. But I also knew I wasn't alone, and that made all the difference. Winter returned to Concord, the snow falling soft and relentless, like a memory that wouldn't fade. Mom was home, her health fragile but stable, and I visited often, each trip a step toward something new. Sam's coffee shop, brewed with love, opened in Boston. Its grand opening a burst of joy, friends, music, and lattes with heart-shaped foam. Mom came, her first trip since her speech, and seeing her laugh with Riley and Marcus felt like a miracle. But miracles are fleeting. In January, Mom's doctor called. The stroke had left lasting damage, and her heart was weakening. Months. Maybe, he said. I drove to Concord that night, Sam beside me, the road slick with ice. Mom was in her kitchen, surrounded by photos, ours, Dad's, the county fair. I've been thinking about that night, she said, her voice soft. The snow. I wish I could take it back. I knelt by her chair, not in shame, but in love. You're here now? I said, echoing words I'd learned from her. She smiled, her hand cupping my face. You're so much stronger than I ever was. We talked for hours. About Dad. About faith. About the years we'd lost and the ones we were reclaiming. Sam joined us, her stories weaving us together. A family forged in fire. The next weeks were a dance of hope and grief. I helped Mom sort through her things. Each item a story: Dad's old watch, my childhood drawings. She gave me a letter, her handwriting shaky but clear. Read it when I'm gone, she said. I nodded, my throat tight, knowing the end was near. Sam and I planned a final Hearts Unbound in Concord, a quiet event at her house. just for us and a few friends. Mom wanted it. A last chance to celebrate love. The night was cold. The room warm with candlelight. Marcus read a poem. Riley sang. And Sam spoke about building homes where none existed. Mom went last. Her voice weak but steady. I was wrong, she said, looking at me. But love taught me better. Eli taught me better. I cried, holding her hand, as the room filled with soft applause. We stayed up late, sharing stories. The snow outside a gentle reminder of how far we'd come. Mom passed a week later, quietly, in her sleep. I found her in the morning, peaceful, a small smile on her face. The letter she'd given me was in my pocket, unopened until Sam and I were back in Boston. It was short. Her words a final gift. Eli, you are my heart. I'm sorry. And I love you. Keep shining. I sobbed. Sam holding me. The ring on my finger a promise we'd keep building. We scattered her ashes in the spring, near the pond in the common where she'd once held my hand. Sam and I stood together, our chosen family around us, the air warm with new beginnings. I thought of that night in the snow, the cold that had once defined us. It was gone now, replaced by a warmth I'd fought for, a love I'd built. Mom's goodbye was frosted, not with shame, but with Gracie, a final act of redemption that set us both free. Brewed with Love became our home, a place where stories like ours were shared over coffee and music. I wore Mom's apology like a badge, not a burden. And every winter, when snow fell, I smiled. It wasn't pain, Anna Maria, it was memory. A reminder of a journey from rejection to redemption, of a mother and son who found each other in time to say goodbye.